So let's say, your mom got this property and it was worth 300,000 like 100 years ago. And now she's getting up there in age and she's like, honey, why don't I just give it to you? You can take care of it. And now it's worth like 1.4. Prices today versus the prices in 3 years from now are going to be very different.
Do you have any advice for someone that's trying to time the market or like trying to really find that special property? Like, what do you tell them?
First of all, when somebody puts a property on the market, they should start really looking then. Take that listing period and that escrow period to really go shopping. Only real mistake, two mistakes, I guess. And I don't know if the first one's a mistake. They don't start looking early enough.
Okay.
So they really get stressed out. And secondly, when they identify property, they have to put the correct addresses down. I'm not kidding. If they put the wrong address down, they can't make any changes to their identification notice after the 45 days.
Yikes. All right, today I'm so excited because I have the dear Julie Bratton here on the call, and we're just going to talk about 1031 exchange. I initially met Julie, and I know I've known your name, but it was at the NetHLA presentation with DR Horton, where you were talking about 1031 exchange opportunities. And as a realtor, I was like, I know a lot of this, but I forgot it, or like it's just not relevant sometimes when you don't think of it all the time. And it's such an incredible tool to use as a homeowner in the future. So we're going to do some myth busting and just a little bit of basics. But Julie, hello, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to see you.
Real quick before we dive in, how did you get involved with 1031 exchange? Like, what was your career path to doing this?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I have a degree in interior design from San Diego State, and I moved to Hawaii years ago. And I thought, long story short, I could get into real estate. I have the vision or whatever.
Yeah.
So I started selling real estate, I think the beginning of 94.
Mm-hmm.
So I started my career doing that. And, the market was up and down. I was like, what should I do? So I, at that point, became a transaction coordinator for the top producers at the company that I was working for. So I learned a ton there. And then then Old Republic Title scooped me up. We need a program like that. So I did that for a little bit, and then Exchange came out, and I was like, I could do this because I knew how to sell real estate. I know title and escrow. So I kind of fell into it. And that was 23 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you've been you're the pro. You're the island pro, guaranteed. Like no one else knows it like you.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a lot. I mean, everybody has a story, but the rules are still the same. So it's just interesting how to gather information and get people on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the biggest assets you have is that experience, because every situation is going to be different, and you've helped so many different families navigate those differences. And so when you're in an emergency, it's like, who are you going to call? You're going to call Julie. She's going to help you. But hopefully we catch it before it's an emergency.
Yes. No emergencies if we can help it.
Yeah. Okay. So give us the rundown. What is 1031 exchange?
Okay. So an exchange is a way to defer paying capital gains tax. And it's just for the sale and purchase of properties held for investment or for productive use in a business or trade. I guess that's the textbook definition. So, for example, personal residences don't qualify. So it has to be investment for investment. And you have to do this within, a specific period of time. But I do think a lot of times people say, okay, I'm going to do an exchange, sell my investment property, and buy a property I'm going to live in. I mean, you can't do that right away. So it has to be investment for investment. I mean, no one says you have to hold it for investment forever, but up front, your intent needs to be to hold for investment.
Yeah. Okay. So run us through that timeline. Let's say we're ready. Is it when we close it, the clock starts on selling the home, or when you start?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So an exchange needs to be set up before the escrow closes. Like, put it this way, nothing can close without an exchange being set up. So, what do? I got to copy the contract and the title report, and I draft exchange documents. Escrow gets everything set, but the day of closing is critical because escrow is going to disperse money. I mean, if they give the money to the client's toast.
Yeah.
No exchange, they're going to pay taxes.
Touch the money.
They're going to do If they're going to do an exchange, the funds come to us and we hold them until they're ready to buy the replacement property. So yes, the clock starts ticking the day they close.
Okay.
And here's the clock. They have 45 days from the day of closing to identify in writing what they're going to buy.
Okay.
And 180 days to close on it. So the 45 days is included in the 180. They don't get 45 and then an additional 180.
Yeah.
And every day counts. So for example, if 45 day lands on Easter Sunday, they still need to identify by midnight of Easter Sunday. If the 180 days lands on a holiday or a weekend, let's say Christmas, they might have to close on the 179th day or the 178th day. So there's no extensions. Yeah. Unless we're a victim of a natural disaster.
Okay.
That the government recognized, like the Lahaina fires.
Yeah.
They gave them an extension.
So let's say we mess up and we miss the timeline. They have to pay capital gains tax.
Yep.
That's what it is. Okay.
So
that's a lot on your neck. Like, what is the capital gains tax for someone selling?
So it depends on their tax bracket, but you have federal, that's 15-20%, depending on your bracket. You have the state tax, 7.25% and above. Then there's depreciation recapture. That's taxed at 25%. And then the 3.8 affordable care tax, if that applies to you. So it adds up quickly. Yep. So that's probably the number one reason why people do exchanges. They just do not want to pay.
Yeah. And so I think the roadmap of this is to use this over and over and over. Maybe you're starting with a condo, but then you can get up to a multi-million-dollar, if not multi-gen property. And that's cash flowing major over the years. But then eventually you're going to have to pay capital gains tax. So what does that look like at the end of the road? Do people put it in?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah. So to back up a little bit, yes, there are a lot of variations in an exchange. So you can sell one property and buy three. Mm-hmm. You can sell two properties and buy one. I mean, there's a lot of I'm just using those numbers, but there's so many variations. But again, it's a deferral of tax. Mm-hmm. Not a getaway from paying tax forever. So you can continue to defer until you pass away. Yep. Then your kids or whoever is inheriting your property inherits it at a step up in basis, which is great. They don't inherit the capital gain burden. They just pretty much get these properties. Okay. But some people do exchange into something they eventually want to live in. Mm-hmm. If they make it their forever home, again, fine, you pass away, your kids inherit it. Yep. Or you can prorate. You could take advantage of the personal residence exemption and your investment property after a certain amount of time. So there's a formula. So if you outright sell the personal residence, you're not going to get 100% of your 250 or 500. It's a prorated formula. Okay. But at least you can take advantage of a little bit of both. But you'll have to pay taxes on the difference. And if you would just outright sell, you're going to pay taxes. So let's say you did exchange, and then now you have this one property and you're like, I'm going to sell it. I'm taking a loss, or I don't want to be a landlord anymore. I'm tired of this. I'm just going to sell. If they outright sell, then they're going to go back to the first property they did an exchange with, because that thesis follows them around. Some people think, I'm just getting out because this is, not so great right now, or I'm taking a loss, or I don't want to be a landlord. They have amnesia. They forget that they did 5 exchanges into it. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. And you're paying the tax on all 5 at the end.
Yeah, you're going back and calculating.
Okay. So this is why.
Well, not you and I.
On our side. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, there is strategy to this. It's not just like willy-nilly whenever I feel like it or whatever. Like, you do need to know your numbers and have an exit plan at the end of the road. What is the best situation? It's to have it be inherited to your kids. You don't have to. Well,
yeah. So it's my understanding, and the law can change, and I can't give tax advice, but it's my understanding it's better, obviously, to inherit property because you get it at a new basis, the step up. Mm-hmm. If you give the property to your kids while you're alive, they have your basis.
Okay.
So let's say, your mom got this property and it was worth $300,000 like 100 years ago. Yeah. And now she's, maybe getting up there in age, and she's like, honey, why don't I just give it to you? Mm-hmm. You can take care of it. And now it's worth like 1.4. Yeah. Okay. So now she gives it to you. It's worth 1.4. She passes away, or you want to sell it. Your basis is really her 300.
Wow. Yeah.
So you get the step up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's better to step up if you can, in my opinion, but everybody's financial plan is unique.
For sure. Can you take 2 investment properties and then roll it into one exchange for a bigger property? Or it has to be?
Yes, absolutely. People do that all the time. So you can sell 2 properties to buy one. Okay. So let's say you were selling 2 properties, 500 each. Mm-hmm. The replacement property would need to be equal to or greater than $1 million if you want to have 100% deferral. Yep. And when you sell 2 to buy 1, you go off the clock, the time frames of which the first property sells.
Got it. Okay.
So you'll start the 45, 180 days. So the second one just needs to close in time. The
Sure.
45 days isn't really going to matter because you know what you're going to buy because you identified it in the first 45 days,
Yeah.
but it has to close in time to make your closing date.
Yeah. Hey ladies, real quick, if you are looking for a mentor, I just wanted to remind you that I offer mentorship to entrepreneurs. So if you're someone who has a never-ending to-do list and you're spiraling out of control and feel like your business doesn't have a track plan, I want to work with you every single week for a month at a time. It's super simple, but I come from over 10 years of experience doing this myself, and now I'm willing to give that information back to people. So I've mentored real estate agents, I've mentored wedding photographers, I've mentored other business owners, and they've come from a place of overwhelm mostly, and they really just needed clarity and a couple of action steps to move the needle, and we've seen gigantic leaps and bounds in their business, like I can't even tell you. So if you're interested and you want to know what that looks like, I want you to go to marinatolentino.com, and there's a Calendly link there to do a 15-minute discovery call with me just to see if we're a good vibe check, to make sure we're on the same page, and I would love to work with you one-on-one to really boost your business to the next level. Let's dive back in. As far as people worried about finding the replacement property, like 45 days is kind of a tight timeline, especially if you have a high criteria list. Do you have any advice for someone that's trying to time the market or like trying to really find that special property? Like, what do you tell them?
Okay, well, I do have a little bit of advice on that because recently I'm changing my stories up a little bit or my examples. So, first of all, when somebody puts a property on the market, they should start really looking then. So take that listing period and that escrow period to really go shopping. Weed out the areas, the properties, the projects, the islands, the states they like and they don't like. So when they're in their 45 days, they're not really stressed out. Because if you wait till day one, 45 days can be really super stressful. So, start shopping early and look around. The other thing I am noticing that kind of gets in people's way is they're looking for perfect.
Yeah.
And remember, it's just an investment property. Okay. You're not going to live there. You're not going to marry it. You're not stuck with it. I mean, of course, disclaimer, don't buy a piece of junk. But if you had to make a lateral move just to defer paying the capital gains tax, do it. Hold on to it for a year or so. And if you still don't like it, you can always sell it again and get into something you really want when it becomes available or when things calm down. But I mean, I have people every once in a while be like, I'm just going to pay my taxes. I can't find anything. And I had this one lady say that. She said, I'm so picky. I can't find anything. And I said, well, why are you so picky? You're not going to marry the property. She wasn't planning on living in it.
Okay.
Eventually down the line. And I said, make a lateral move. Don't pay taxes on $200,000. She was like, oh, okay, I'll think about it. And then on the 45th day, she called and she identified something and she bought it. Like she was kind of getting in her own way. She didn't realize she was looking for perfect, but what does she care? As long as it works for her, it pays for her, it serves its purpose. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get in your own way.
Okay. I feel like there's so many people who are sitting on these properties and they want to move, but they just don't know how to make the move. What advice do you have for them? Where they're just like, they've had it for 20 years. They might not even be on the island. Like, why should they sell it or, whatever? It's just getting up.
Well, is it an old property? Is it dilapidated? Does it need a lot of maintenance? Is it still working for you the way it used to?
It's 20 years old condition.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I could look at it as doing estate planning, sell that old property that you've owned for 20 years and buy a few new condos or buy a few new houses, one for each kid or something. I mean, do some estate planning.
Yeah.
I mean, your kids probably don't want that old and dilapidated property anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's giving your investment properties a facelift and hopefully your pocketbook. And then, and also because you're not paying for any more deferred maintenance, you're getting into something that's newer and fresher and more desirable, and people pay more rent for that.
Yeah.
People take pride in their properties.
That's true. And let's kind of roll into that. So if you were to buy new construction, you have 1 year builder warranty, and then a lot of other things are covered for a while too. So you're getting no repairs needed usually in the first couple of years. The rental value is way, way higher in new construction. Appreciation value is way, way higher in new construction. Like it's just win on win on win. So it's like silly, but I just feel like for some reason, everyone's sitting on the bench. Like, I don't feel like anyone's making the move to do a 1031 exchange to new construction, or at least I haven't heard of it. So have you?
Well, I think the problem with that is the new construction. If it's new right now, then they should just do it. But if it's like one of those new projects that are going to come up in 2025 or
Oh,
26 or
no. Yeah.
27, all of those, they're probably timing the sale of their relinquished property.
Mm-hmm.
So they sell that and they can close on that new project in 180 days. But I think they're stuck on they have to put the down payment down today.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, they get that down payment back in an exchange. So let's say I put down my own out of pocket deposit today for a new project.
Okay.
And now down the line, it's going to be done at, let's say, the end of 2026.
Okay.
I'm going to get my loan, buy the project. I can be refunded for my out of pocket deposits. As soon as my relinquished property sells, you're going to take those proceeds, do an exchange, replace your out of pocket money. You get that money back. Yeah. I feel like people think the money's just going to be gone.
Yeah. But it's just,
and it's not going to be gone.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's like zero carrying costs.
Mm-hmm.
And you have built-in appreciation.
Yeah. What's crazy with those builds is you're getting the price of 2024, but you don't like own it until 2026. What do you think the market's done in those 2 years? That property value's already gone up. I think that's a huge home run for people. Yeah.
Yes, I know that. And actually I'm delving into that myself for the first time, buying into a new project.
Exciting.
And I'm like, the prices today versus the prices in 3 years from now are going to be very different.
Yes.
So getting into it now was really important to me.
Yeah.
So I'll cross my fingers. I'm sure it'll be fine.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Okay. But I think people don't pull the trigger because they don't want to spend the money today, but they're going to end up spending the money later and it's going to be more expensive. So it's hard.
Yeah. You're going to be kicking yourself. Okay. Talk to me about the cost of a 1031 exchange. What's like the closing transfer fee, all of that, like from title?
And so it's fairly easy. I mean, you're going to have your normal 1031. You're going to have your normal escrow fees.
Yep.
And usually when you go to escrow fees are usually about 1% of the sales price. And I think the escrow company gives you a 30% discount on title and escrow if you're an investor. So that's always nice. Yeah. Okay. But my fee, the 1031 fee, is usually $950 when you sell the relinquished property.
Okay.
And $575 when you buy the replacement property. So you pay as you go. Yeah. For example, if you don't find anything, obviously we're not going to charge you. So that's like nothing compared to what you're going to pay in taxes. Like, wouldn't anybody do that?
Yeah. Okay. Do you see any common mistakes or like whoopsies that people are making with 1031 exchanges?
The only real two mistakes, I guess, and I don't know if this is the first one's a mistake, they don't start looking early enough.
Okay.
So they really get stressed out.
Yeah.
And secondly, when they identify property, they have to put the correct addresses down. I'm not kidding. If they put the wrong address down, they can't make any changes to their identification notice after the 45 days.
Yikes.
So if the address is wrong and it's after the 45 days, I cannot fund it. And they'll pay taxes.
Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, it's just so weird, but it happens.
Yeah.
It happens once in a while. And, the IRS does not have wiggle room for a mistake on that.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Okay, so we're shopping for properties, hypothetically. We're just emailing them to you as we are looking at them and considering them, or how does it work?
Okay, so I give you guys an identification notice.
Okay.
And you're going to list the addresses, the complete addresses, including the unit number of what you think you're going to buy.
Okay.
You don't have to have an accepted offer when you identify, but it has to be on your list. So I'll give you the identification notice, and I need it by midnight of the 45th day.
Got it.
And so there's 2 ways to identify on that list. There's the 3 property rule, where you can identify just up to 3.
Okay.
You might only want to buy 1, but a lot of people put backups down just because they're not sure what they're going to get. So just because, which is fine. I think that's the most common way. If you wanted to identify more than 3, so 4 or more, you can, but the fair market value of all of them combined cannot exceed double or 200%. Same thing of what you sell the relinquished property for. So if you sell something for $1 million and you want to identify 4 or 5 or 10, that whole list cannot exceed 1 penny over 2 million. It's like you can't go crazy and identify all of Capella and then pick one later.
Yes. Got it.
So identification, I mean, there's a lot of gray area in exchanges, but there's also some black and white, and identifying timely and properly is black and white.
Yes.
It's really important that it's done timely and properly.
Yeah. Good to know. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Work Like a Mother podcast. Real quick, I just want to remind you guys, if you are worried about missing an episode, you don't have to worry anymore because we are creating a weekly email that's going to go out automatically every single time there's a brand new episode. And this email is going to have everything you need to know about this week's featured guest. It's going to have all of the links and the resources that we're going to talk about in this episode. So you don't have to go around and fumble through the show notes, but it's going to be served in your inbox every single week. So if you guys want that access, be sure to click below one time in the show notes today, sign up for that email, and then you'll never have to worry about it in the future. And bonus, if you really love this, we'd love it if you share this with a friend. Give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to, and we'll continue to bring new episodes and new information that's going to help you level up your life every single week. Do you find that when people are buying the next property that they're just bringing in cash to make up the difference in the new price, or are they doing loans? Like, what do you see most commonly?
It's a combination.
Okay.
I think if people have cash, they're probably using their cash because, the lending environment is a little bit sticky right now. But if they can get their loans, they'll get their loans, which is a good comment for you to bring up, because in an exchange, when you sell the relinquished property, everything you read online, even my brochures, it says you need to replace the mortgage that you had on the relinquished property in the new property.
Oh.
And that translates into you have to get another mortgage. You don't have to get another mortgage. You can replace it with cash.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people take that for face value, that it needs to be a mortgage because it says you need to replace the mortgage. You don't get debt relief.
Yeah.
So people are like, I can't get a mortgage, or maybe I'm retired and I can't afford them. I can't get a mortgage now. Well, okay, well, you can go to the bank and bring in cash if you want. You just have to replace it.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful.
Oh, and one other thing that I could have brought up earlier is like kind. When you do an exchange, and remember I said investment property for investment, it also needs to be like kind property. And like kind property is any combination of real property. That also translates a little bit funny to the client. Okay. It translates as if it needs to be condo for condo, single family for single family, vacant land for vacant land. And although all of those examples are perfectly fine, it's any combination of real property.
Got it.
So you can sell a condo and buy a commercial building. You can sell a commercial building and buy houses if you want. As long as you're using them for investment, you're good.
Yeah. I mean, the world's wide open. You can get into so many fun things. Like, I feel like commercial could be where it's at. Do you do a lot of commercial ones?
I do.
Yeah.
I do a lot of commercial.
What's like pros and cons of switching from residential to commercial? I don't know anything about the commercial world.
I don't know. I think you just look at the numbers a little bit differently, but it's still real estate. As far as the exchange is concerned, you're still deferring the capital gains tax just like you would a residential one. But commercial, there's a lot more avenues you have to look at.
Do you know in the commercial zone, like, is the appreciation just as fast as residential?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that per se, but on a commercial building, you want to make sure all your spaces are leased out. So the world has changed since the pandemic.
Yes.
So does that lessen the value and of the commercial building? Probably.
But I'm thinking
the cap rates are really important.
Yeah.
But if you have a good house or a good condo and it's making a lot of money, you know that it's going to be rented.
Yeah. That's true. Like,
commercial spaces
out in Waianae, and there's like a tire shop for sale, and I'm like, I wonder what that would be like. Or there's another one that's it's an auto body shop, but people are looking for those all the time because so many warehouses don't allow car areas. And so it's just interesting to think.
Well, that would be good.
Yeah.
But like the first one that you mentioned, like, why isn't it surviving? Is it the business itself, or is it the location? Is it the property? What's the maintenance fee? What's all of that stuff all matters. Yes. And I think on commercial financing, the lending is different. The lending requirements are a little bit different.
Yes, for sure. And the rates are way cheaper too, but the income requirements are different. Yep.
Yeah. So, you have the smaller or the newer or the younger, if that's what you want to call it, investors moving up into commercial. And then you have the commercial people maybe doing some estate planning and getting into residential. I mean, 1031 exchange is a great way to do some estate planning.
Yeah. That's
also,
exciting.
besides building wealth. You're building wealth for your family or you're building wealth for you. I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
That's true. For the people who want to live in it eventually, what's the rule? How long does it have to be an investment until they can actually occupy it?
There is no rule or law on how long you have to hold investment property for investment. So just know that. It's all about your intent. Did you intend to hold it for investment? And if you were audited, you should prove it. I mean, I like to say at least a year.
Yeah.
Because you can clearly show on 1 year's tax returns your intent. How you reported 1 year of income to the IRS. How are they going to argue that? But really the right answer, and I only like to say that, the right answer is the longer the better. So it's not measured by days, weeks, months, or years.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have people that say, oh my gosh, my life changed. I had to move into it. Okay. That's between you and your CPA. Yeah. But upfront, it needs to be held for investment.
Yes. Yep. And same thing for the VA loan or whatever. Like you have to have intent to live there for 1 year. Life can happen, but that makes sense. Okay. I feel like this is really good. Did we miss any area that you feel like common FAQs or people might want to know?
No. Well, one thing that seems to be very popular right now, again, everybody is stressed out about finding a replacement property because of the inventory that we're in. There is a reverse exchange.
Oh, tell me more.
Where you buy first and then sell.
Oh, yes. It's
more expensive to do it. And you have to have cash on hand to do it because you have to be able to buy it. And there's a lot more involved in it, but you can buy first and then sell. It's called a reverse exchange. And that timeframes are in reverse also. So you would have to sell your relinquished property in 180 days. But some people are warming up to the idea because they're so stressed out about finding a replacement property.
Yeah.
They rather just find one first because they always know they can sell the relinquished.
Yeah.
So as long as they don't mind the fees on that, they can do it. It's just, if from a fee perspective, if you can sell first and then buy, you should do it.
Yes. Got it. It's more like if you're a worrywart, then you can buy first. We get it.
Yeah.
This is a dumb question, but you can do a 1031 exchange in between states, right? It doesn't have to be like, I have to sell Hawaii to buy Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good question. Anywhere in the U.S., the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Guam.
Cool.
Just not Puerto Rico. And I don't know why they left that out. But yeah. So foreign sellers can do exchanges. But all the properties that they sell and buy still need to be within the United States.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. No, I think this is really good to like trigger some thought-provoking ideas for people who maybe have heard of the term but never knew exactly what it was or how to do it. We'll make sure that the editors will throw in here your contact information at the end too, so we'll get your little picture up and all of that. But I think people just need to have the conversation. They need to call you and say, hey, Julie, this is my property. What does it look like to do a 1031 exchange?
Yeah, I mean, there's no harm in asking about it, learning about it, planning for it for the future. I mean, you just don't know, but it is one of the last tax loopholes we have. Yeah. And it's good. It's really good. And everybody wants a piece of Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like maybe you have clients that own property here, but they have family members on the mainland that are dying to get here. Okay, they sell that property or their investment property, do an exchange, come into Hawaii, rent that out for however long, and then hey, maybe they move here one day. There's just so many ways to make that happen. But I do like the new construction situation.
Yeah, I think it's a home run. It's just people got to be open-minded to it. So
I know, and I remember when I talked to you at that presentation, my light bulbs were going off too. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You have a lot of great ideas. I was just like, I came home and I was like, we should do this and we should do that.
Yeah.
I was very excited.
Right after that, we put ours for rent, our 2-bed with the bonus room, and we had 5 applications within 3 days, and it rented at $3,600 for a 2-bed. I was like, oh,
that's just, yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, those stories, you have to tell that story more often.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people realize how easy it is. I'm using that word lightly, but easy it is to build wealth with real estate.
Yep.
It's really easy. Anyways.
We just need the right people to link arms and we're going to take you to the finish line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. This was fun. So again, we'll push out all your information so people can get to contact. I think you also just share so much. You have these brochures and you have information. So when we have listings, I'll make sure that we get little flyers from you. That'll be really helpful too.
Good.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thanks. I look forward to working with you. We got to get together
Sounds
outside
good.
of this.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.